Welcome to Manufacturing Tech Australia with Shane Williams and Paul Mason, where they share the latest manufacturing and tech news and explore innovative solutions to help you improve your business.
Welcome to Manufacturing Tech Australia with Shane and Paul. Today we're here at Australian Manufacturing Week in Melbourne 2023. What are you keen to see here at the show today, Shane? I suppose I'm keen to see a few things. What I'm really interested in is, I think a lot of the technologies, particularly in things like 3D printing and that sort of stuff, have largely, as you know, in my perspective, been used for things like prototyping and whatnot. And I'm keen to see whether we've progressed to the point now where these things are starting to really get industrialized and be used in the manufacturing process rather than just for prototyping. I think the other thing I'm keen to see is the end-to-end integration of systems. We think about, we have various technologies, robots and laser cutters and whatnot, but then we also have ERP. But I'm really interested to see the interconnect, the true Industry 4.0 coming together, and I'm hoping to see that today. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see that integration side as well, pulling everything together. I want to see that Apple type ecosystem that everyone's looking forward to hitting, that we're not quite there yet, but we'll see how far we get. And also, obviously, the robots and the cobots, I'm here for that.
I'd be fundamentally surprised if you were not interested in seeing the robots. So that's cool. All right, I can see plenty of stands out there that are absolutely going to have robots on them. So let's go hit the floor.
Let's go. I'm here with Matt from Team Assurance, and we're just talking about this awesome system we've got here, which I'll get Matt to explain it, but it's the way I see it. It's like a digitized system of trying to manage your shop floor, everything from the top level management down to the shop floor, but really digitizing that system. But anyway, I'll get Matt to maybe give us a good intro.
Oh, that was pretty good, Paul. Thanks. Technically speaking, it's very simple. We're using technology that's household technology for manufacturing front lines to digitize what they normally do on paper, what they do verbally, and we're really looking to engage that group of people in Australia. It's all about engaging not only their arms and legs, but their minds as well, and letting them step up and step into the knowledge that they've got of the process. A low barrier to entry is what we're about for engaging with the rest of their own business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The thing I like about it, lots of businesses with the whiteboards out on the shop floor, they write things down on.
Yes.
But then it's lost after that. You can't capture that data, you can't action it, you don't get notifications if something's broken, needs to be fixed. That's why I love this too. It works with smartphones and all sorts of things.
Yeah, no, they're very mute, that technology, and it's good for visualization. So quite often you'll have a mixture of the two, best of both. When we want information to flow in the business in real time, we're in a real-time world. We put it digitally into Team Assurance. When we want to visualize something, we use a whiteboard. Best of both is always the way that we recommend.
Yeah, cool. And I think I like also the multi-tiered. So we're looking before. Can you show us the management view from the top where you've got your strategy?
Yeah.
No, I'll throw you on the spot here.
Still good.
Where you've got your strategy from management of that particular plant or facility, and then you're like, so you've got all these different targets that you're trying to meet.
Yeah, so make a business plan, deploy that deeply into the business, and within each work stream, let people deliver those improvements and those projects day to day. So not only the urgent things getting done every day, delivering the business plan. So a leadership team that is focused just on execution and deep diving by exception into where they need to. That's all the time they've got for, and really letting everybody else jump in and basically deliver the plan. And sometimes it's very big savings just by unlocking the blockages in the business and letting that knowledge be applied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like how you're driving all this kind of lean manufacturing or lean initiatives for process improvement, all that kind of stuff, and using this to keep record of all that stuff as well.
Totally. It's democratization, frontline bias for action in a digital format and nothing else. So it's a tool. It requires a leadership vision, but when we combine with a leader that really knows where they want to get to, believes in their people, it's quite magic. In as little as 8 weeks, we can make significant differences in a business, culturally and on the results as well.
And before you were talking about the integration side, I couldn't help but ask about that, because the IoT and the sensors and getting that data from the ground.
Yeah, operationalizing all that new tech that's coming into the market, and it's coming in monthly. There's a new way to use IoT devices. So really we're here to operationalize that, put it in the mainstream, put it in the daily management system, bring it to bear so that people at the front line can use it, not just Paul, who's a tech whiz in the business. It all comes to him and he's got to do everything. So we're really about deploying that new and really fantastic technology across the business widely and bringing it to bear to get some things done which delivers the promise for that technology. So it could be things like alerts on assets that are going to fail in 2 weeks' time. We've now got time to get in there and avoid the catastrophe. It could be things like temperature and vibration and even tracking of assets. All that's really good data. It's rich data, but unless it's brought to bear in the right place at the right time, it can often just go on deaf ears.
So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks
Good
so
to
much,
see you.
Matt. Cheers. We're here with Paul from Leap Australia. He's got some really cool gear on the stand here today at Australian Manufacturing Week, so we thought we'd ask a few questions and see what you guys are up to.
Yeah, no worries.
Paul, do you want to give us a run through what do you got going on here?
Yeah, lots of things actually, Paul. From end to end, we've got a big collaboration this year with Monash University and their Nova Rover team. So you'll see we've got some hardware here. The student teams put together, designed this product, and they've used a lot of Leap software in that process around simulation that you can see on the screen over here. Over here we've got a demonstration of augmented reality that the students have built. So I've got various bits and pieces on the screen here. So we can overlay, for example, where the battery is, where it's placed, how you remove it, and things like that. We've got an example of how we add additional equipment to the device as well. So even though the full equipment isn't here, we can see how it works in real world.
Yeah, nice.
And then we've got links off to movies and things like that for the team.
Okay. With the augmented reality gear, we've seen it used for like assembly and servicing and things like that. So is that something also you can use in there? If there's problems with it, you can use that to diagnose and things like that? Or what's the main
Absolutely.
use here?
So a lot of the main use cases for augmented reality traditionally has been sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So if the product wasn't here, we could have it virtually. And in fact, if you go to the Monash stand over in the corner, they've got a virtual version there as well that you can have a look at. Other use cases would include, as you say, service. So we can overlay step-by-step instructions on how to repair this. Maybe in the field, maybe you don't have a frontline worker there, so we can empower people on site with the equipment to actually do that without opening the traditional 500-page PDF or maybe going to YouTube or whatever. So it's unique to the device and we can overlay that. In the same way, service maintenance, training, all of those are pretty common use cases now for augmented reality.
You mentioned before how you had a digital twin here running and the robot arm over at Monash is working remotely, yeah? Is that something you can show us here?
Yeah, exactly. So over on the Monash stand, there's a robot arm. It's connected using our ThingWorks IoT platform, and we're actually streaming that information across to our stand here. And we've got a dashboard over here that the students at Monash have built. So this is part of their smart manufacturing hub. And so here's where Monash are, over here. And there's a facility there now. And as I say, over on their stand, they've got an arm. We're streaming information through. You can see we've got video footage here. We've got a virtual model of that, and we've got sensor information coming through as well. So I'd recommend maybe you go over and have a look at the physical arm as well, just to see how the two work together.
Fantastic. So I guess moving forward, what sort of stuff are you seeing for the future?
Probably just a convergence of all of this technology. So in the past, augmented reality was a disparate technology. IoT was, PLM was, CAD was, simulation. And what we're seeing more and more of is those technologies coming together. So you have a whole ecosystem where we're using physics-based simulation in digital twins. There's a physics-based analytics engine. We're seeing augmented reality hooked into IoT, so we can overlay sensor and real-time information back on the real world.
I think the PLM side also is really interesting, managing that product life cycle from sort of design through to manufacture.
Yep.
Massive gap here in the Australian manufacturing, I think. Is that something that you're seeing, like a better uptake of that, or?
Exactly, yeah. So PLM has now finally elevated itself to being an enterprise system. I think there's a recognition now in many organisations, particularly that design and manufacture, that you need a system in place to have a single version of the truth to unlock a lot of the IP and valuable information that's created in design and engineering and development, and really democratise that across the organisation into manufacturing, into sales, and downstream into other systems like ERP and other manufacturing systems as well. And then finally closing that loop with things like smart manufacturing, Industry 4, IoT, where we can take information from the shop floor back into our PLM system to close the loop.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Paul. Thanks for the run through.
So we're here at the Femero stand, and I'm talking with Peter Teschner about this fantastic bike that he's been putting together using some of the Femero kit. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the bike.
Yeah, thanks guys. I've been building bikes since 1991. Started in titanium, I went to aluminium, went to carbon, and then 3D printing. Everybody's printing in titanium these days in lugs, and about 2 years ago I started a research project with the Uni of South Australia in 3D printing lugs in a composite.
Right.
and that was a 9 to 12 month program. And leading on from that, I met Simon 4 or 5 years ago. He got in contact with me and said, look, you want to do a bike frame for the show, and we'll feature some of the printing we do on the new Mark Forged FX20.
Perfect. Simon's the CEO of Femero.
Yes.
Obviously, he's got some pretty serious 3D printing kit. Maybe you can tell us a bit about some of the components that have gone into this and how you put them together.
The industry's changing a little bit from a custom building point of view in terms of 3D printing the lugs.
Yep.
As I said, titanium seems to be the main source these days, and so you print a C-tube, top tube lug, a bottom bracket lug, and what they call a head tube lug, and you then bond in carbon fibre tubes or whatever you want to do. What my process is, I like to create rather than compete. Every man and his dog out there is using titanium, and a bit of spare time, started looking at other options. I've also done aluminium in 3D printing, and that's the next phase. But we're just about probably 3 to 4 months away from proving the real existence of it, which will work. Your weight factor is very similar to 3D printed titanium one. We have to use some mechanical interference to get strength into some areas. But other than that, printing time is quite extensive, which hopefully will come down. And post cleanup like titanium is a fair bit of interest, the time spent in doing that at the same time. The good part about 3D printing, of course, is you can change your angles, change your lengths, do whatever you need to do.
It's interesting, a lot of the 3D printing folks we've been talking to today are seeing that evolution from prototyping to small run production. I guess that's perhaps where this takes it.
Most definitely. Mind you, I do have a dream, and that's actually to set up a 3D printing farm where you've got 100 3D printers, smaller ones where you might have contract people coming in and using their machines and producing product. I think that's the way of the future. But I think the post-cleanup and the time to print are your challenges still at this stage in terms of it. But it certainly has a future. I'm really looking forward to it.
Peter, been fantastic meeting you. Thanks for showing us your bike.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
So we're here at Manufacturing Week. I'm here with Tim McLean. Thanks for joining me.
Good to see you again, Paul.
Yeah, so I walked past, I've seen you guys, obviously the experts in lean here. I love my lean manufacturing, so I guess tell us a bit about what you guys are doing and what you're offering manufacturers here.
We've been at the show for about 10 years, and what we really see is that people come to trade shows like this to improve their operations, and what we're offering them is an alternative to spending a lot of capital and giving them practical solutions so they can make more with what they've got, both in terms of people and in terms of equipment, and really leverage their business.
Fantastic. So I guess what are some of the trends that you're seeing with manufacturers at the moment? Is it still people's skills missing? Is it lack of staff? Is it still lack of process? What's the key trends you're seeing that you're mainly helping it with at the moment?
Oh, look, so you've got the overall big trends and the shorter term trends. So shorter term, the big challenges that we're facing manufacturers in the last 2 years are both easing. One being the supply chain challenges, which are substantially better. And interestingly, working in overseas in Europe, and I'm frequently in Europe, they've got better there about 6 months before here. And the second one is people, availability of people, and that's been absolutely crisis level through this end of last year, beginning of this year, but that's also getting better, which is probably bad, might mean some softening in the employment market, but it does mean that people can actually hire the staff they need. So the challenge that people have now got is, how do I, especially SMEs who can't just pass their prices on, how do I maintain my margins with prices going up for everything? And that's where our work is still really relevant, is how do I make more with what I've got, keep my costs down, and still maintain my margins and grow my throughput.
Yeah, perfect. And I guess that's where you standardise work, fixing the processes, make them repeatable, you can train new staff easier, all that kind of thing all comes into it when you're looking at boarding people or keeping people, making work easier for them.
Exactly. And look, the thing that I know that you're passionate about, which is the other big thing, is there's a massive amount of interest in automation and systems. And the question is, how do I make the right decisions on automation and systems? So increasingly we're being asked by clients to help them decide where automation makes sense and how to make the most of systems and integrate that within a lean context. And really deciding what particular automation investment is going to give me the greatest return.
Absolutely. That's probably a good segue into, you spoke earlier about integration with OFS and team assurance and all these other great platforms and systems and sensors and different smart IoT devices, and I guess intelligence around the factory and around anywhere in a business, and how you can integrate that into the lean systems, make that all work together.
Yeah, we're obviously working with partners like OHS, Team Assurance, Bosch Rexroth, and others, and we're regularly at trade shows. So we get to see around the world what the latest stuff that people are offering and what it can do. And so that then prompts ideas to say, actually, I've seen a solution that could solve this problem that you've got. And increasingly, as I say, people are looking to, because you can spend a lot of money on capital and you can actually jeopardize your business by overcapitalizing. And so it's about choosing the right investments to deliver the maximum return. You can't ignore technology. You can't say, oh, I don't need this technology. You have to be keeping your business at the cutting edge, but it's important you make the right investments and get the return on those investments rather than just throwing money at robots or whatever without a clear strategy, without fitting in the context of your overall value stream and your overall plans for your operations.
So I guess moving forward, when we get over those hurdles of supply chain and skills shortages and things like that, where do you see Australian manufacturing in 5-10 years from now?
I think we're on a much better trajectory. I think we've left the bottom. China will never be as competitive and as attractive a place to do business as it was. At the point of highest competitiveness, both through Chinese government policy and the business environment in China, which has become a lot more difficult, and through wages, which have rocketed up in China. There isn't another China for a whole lot of reasons. The other low-cost countries will never quite offer what China offered because of its scale and its infrastructure and education system and all of that kind of thing. And so we're seeing that the reshoring thing is real, that people are actually actively, both here and in the Northern Hemisphere, moving production home, moving production closer to market. And this is also where digital technologies, and particularly things like 3D printing, come into their own, that I can move my production much closer to my customer and offer a customized product close to the customer. So using the technology not just to take out cost, which is a diminishing returns thing, but using the technology to innovate business models. And so I think that over time, with the right decision-making investments, particularly around education and around creating a favourable environment for manufacturing, that manufacturing in Australia will start to grow again.
Fantastic. Great. Appreciate your time today, Tim.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks very much.
Great to talk to you. Cheers.
So, end of day one for AMW 2023. Paul and I standing here in front of the Crafttech Excalibur, the cool welding robot behind us. Paul, what's your takeaways from today, bud? We've seen a bit of everything. We've seen product design to manufacturing, automation. We've seen robots and cobots coming out of our ears, even mobile robots and welding robots. But I guess we've also seen a lot of stuff as well on the software side and other things that optimize processes and systems in manufacturing that I guess manufacturers can use in their day-to-day business.
Yeah, I think the key takeaways for me are things like laser welding and stuff that I hadn't necessarily seen before. We did an interview with a really interesting chap, Peter, who's 3D printing bikes, which is pretty interesting. And then some of the manufacturing optimization, automation software, and the guys at the Lean, I think bringing all that together is really exciting. So hope you really enjoyed our takeaways from today, enjoyed some of the interviews, and we'll bring you day 2 and 3 pretty shortly.
Thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Tech Australia with Shane and Paul, recorded on the traditional lands of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people. For more information, jump on the manufacturingtech.au website. Remember to hit the follow button to join us again next time as we continue to explore the intersection of manufacturing and technology.